YouTube, Justin Krause here. Okay, coming to you with the first installment or episode of Dispel the Darkness. So, this YouTube channel, I just want to make it clear, is here to shed spiritual light on what's going on in the world around you, okay? But to do it from a biblical perspective and standing on biblical truth. Alright, so check this out. Let's get started, right? So, this first episode, we're going to talk about something that's like foundational with growing up in the United States of America. I think, having all these privileges and everything. I mean, just knowing where we come from and everything, and the things that have kind of slipped through, and we find them in our community, right? And we'll get more into that, but let's just focus here. All right, so check this out. So here's the foundation. Here's the biblical truth, right? This isn't conspiracy, y'all. This is truth. So listen. So this is really important. In the Bible, right? Moses was you heard of Moses, right? Moses was the one that was contacted by God and sent by God to deliver the people, the Israelite people that were in bondage to the Egyptians from the kingdom of the Egyptians, right? From the hand of the Egyptians, from the hand of Pharaoh. So Moses, he's got all these powers and workings that God's doing through him as a representative to the people, right? Well, one time he goes before to demand that Pharaoh lets God's people go, right? And one time these priests, these idolistic priests on the Egyptian side, they actually conjure serpents, right? Actual serpents. But I also want to say this before we really get into this, that God, using Moses as his representative, I think the word talks about how Moses used Aaron's rod, and Aaron's rod became a serpent and swallowed those serpents. So the spiritual power of God in this image of historical account shows that no matter what, God's spiritual power trumps and triumphs and is more powerful than any other spiritual power. Whatever, the God of the Bible, more powerful. Now that that's been talked about, let's get into it. Where I really want to go with this, and that's this, guys. That historical account proves that that a government in history that was already like one of the most powerful governments in history was already ruled and swayed with the help of demonic influence, okay? So, are we really gonna just be ignorant to the fact that, and I think as Christians we really need to stop just being naive and being ignorant to the fact that even though the government's not telling us about it, the government's not just all about using evolution, okay? There is some faction of the government that, if history proves correct and right, and history always proves itself, that leans on and that uses and those dark spiritual things, not the spiritual stuff that comes through a relationship with God through Jesus Christ. How do we know this? Well, let's look at the laws and let's look at the way that we've compromised our values and our morals since from the beginning and the founding of this country, right? And it's just continually been a backslide, kind of like a we would like to think like a prodigal son or daughter, right? But unfortunately, when it comes to governments and stuff like that, like history and that depiction proves, those governments, they might not have that moment of clarity and come back to their father, right? To come back to that relationship with God is what's that supposed to portray. Unfortunately, they may being so demonically impressed and torn away or turned their back on God so much, they may just harden their hearts to the point where they're just destroyed. So that being said, I really want to call, first I want to point this out. Right behind me, guys, you might be kind of familiar with these sites now, right? These are institutions that are called smoke shops for the street language, right? And not only are these on nearly every highway corner, you also have on nearly every highway corner these things that they call sweepstakes. Guys, this is what I want to shed light on in this episode. Okay, back in ancient times, they had gathering spots and they had places where people could get whatever they needed for their, and these priests, they had these little shrines and whatever, and they had these places where it made it easy to go and get whatever you needed to be a part of that spiritual darkness. So Christians, this is not only a video to shed light, but this is also a call to join an initiative to demand of our local governments and city ordinances, okay, we still need free will. Free will's option. Free will's an awesome option. It's an awesome gift, right? But God did not have the tree of knowledge of good and evil just about everywhere Adam and Eve could look, right? He had it in one spot. So this is a call for city ordinances and local governments, for Christians to really impress upon them and in some way, shape, or form really express that this isn't okay to have in our community. We don't want to have these places that promote that spiritual darkness, right? Okay, so like I said, my name's Justin Krause, y'all, and I'm coming from a place where I know what I'm talking about. If you look me up, you know that I was a formal monster, y'all. I mean, I made a lot of bad choices. I hurt innocent people, and I actually killed one. And so for 1 second or more, I do want to take time, just be quiet in honor of Lily Manis, all right? And I would, express my, remorse and all that, but I know there's really nothing I can say. Hopefully, I can live in a way that'll bring her memory some form of honor. Okay, and so moving on from there. And again, sorry. Right. Yeah. So let's not let these things sprout up in our communities like weeds, guys, because these aren't just weeds. These are places of spiritual demonic influence and practice, okay? And they will very well, if we don't do anything. I mean, it's one thing to have one every so many miles away, but let's get together, let's see what's reasonable, but it shouldn't be on every corner of every highway, just down from every, just right outside every community, right? Like there's one like in every direction we look, and that's a problem. That's a problem, because if we really care about our citizens, we're gonna want them to do more than sit around and feel sexually aroused or to develop psychological paranoias and problems that are going to cause them to be a threat in our community. Okay, and ultimately that's what these places are for. That's what demons want. The devil just wants to steal, kill, and destroy. Okay, this isn't a personal thing. This is, well, it is a personal thing on a spiritual level. Because remember, we wage war not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, spiritual darkness, and the rulers of darkness on high, and spiritual wickedness and principalities, powers. Well, the enemy's trying to mess with my mind so that I don't really get this message all the way out there. But it's in Ephesians 6, and it talks about where our war and where our war is waged, and what is really and whom it's really waged against. Right. So put on the spiritual armor. Right. Collaborate in a very, very loving way with your fellow brothers and sisters in the faith, and come up with a way and join the initiative to get this abundance, the abundance of these locations shut down, so that our community has a chance, y'all. Jesus bless you, and that's Dispel the Darkness, episode 1. Y'all take care and love you.